to excuse him. It says, okay, so we'll go on to number 3. And council, it says, please refrain from asking questions until staff presentations are complete. So 3.1, you're going to be provided feedback on the Recreation Campus Master Plan. Our presenters are, and they're not the same people, so is Nathan going to be up here? It says Nathan Torres, Parks and Rec Director, Walt Kinsler, Capital Improvement Program Manager. Okay, so would somebody like to introduce who we have up here?
Yes, I'm Walt Kinsler, and I am the CIP Manager for Engineering Department, City of Goodyear. And Sean was from...
Here comes Nathan Rayner.
Now we have Nathan aboard. Welcome, Nathan.
Welcome.
I'm going to have you repeat it and do the introductions, please, of your people that are with you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Nathan Torres. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. Joining me this evening, we have Sean Wozni. He's our prime with Kimley Horn. They are the master plan consultants that were selected for the Recreation Campus. And we're also joined by Walt Kinsler. He's the Goodyear's Capital Improvement Program Manager for the city. So the purpose for tonight's meeting is to, number one, outline the journey of how the plan was developed for the Recreation Campus, receive your feedback on the plan and its content, and highlight next steps in terms of bringing this plan to reality. But before we get started, so why do we master plan? The primary reason is to ensure that the plan is aligned with community needs through a very transparent public outreach process. The perfect park is one that gets used, and thus it maximizes return for the city's investment. But another reason why we master plan is to gather details needed to properly scope the project, which allows for us to obtain accurate costing related to both construction and operations. So those are some of the reasons why we master plan. The plan being presented this evening culminates over 9 months of planning with over 1,100 community touches. So that could be, at one touch is a feedback received on an online survey, or maybe it's a touch at one of our outreach efforts through HOAs or public meetings, or at some of our events. But 1,100, that's an incredible number, and we're very, very proud of that. So really, to set the table, the Parks, Recreation, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan that was adopted in 2014 identified the need for parks and recreational amenities in central Goodyear. Specifically, the plan called for 2 30-acre community parks, an aquatics facility, a 30,000 square foot recreation center, as well as walking paths and trails. It's also important to note that providing parks and recreational opportunities are the top 2 funding priorities for our residents, and that's per the city satisfaction survey. The 86-acre project site selected for the Recreation Campus is the ideal location for creating this ultimate gathering place for our community. And we heard that that was a top priority for council, is that this really be the ultimate gathering place. The integrated site will include an initial phasing of development of the eastern 40 acres, which will include the 30-acre park, aquatics facility, and recreation center. Future development of approximately 46 acres on the western portion of the site is currently not funded, but will provide an opportunity for some regional attractions in the future. So as we look to create the master plan, there are all various inputs that go into creating the plan. So if you think of it like there are many spokes to a wheel, and every spoke is just as important as the one next to it. For example, City Council is an input, and we met individually with each of the City Council members and mayor to gain valuable input when we started the process. The 2014 Parks Recreation Master Plan is another input that goes into creating the master plan for the rec campus. The general plan, stakeholder groups, HOAs, BASIS School, Desert Edge, the Youth Commission, the Arts and Culture Commission, the Parks and Rec Commission. There's a lot of spokes in the wheel that went into this and really created those opportunities for 1,100 touches and a very robust community engagement process to make this happen. So with that, it's time to get down to the fruit, and I will turn it over to Sean.
Mayor and Council, thank you for having me tonight. Very excited to talk about this really transparent process for this very exciting master plan. As Nathan said, we had a bunch of inputs that we're trying to bring together. We had a series of outreach meetings. We had workshops. We had HOA meetings. We had park events, recreation events that utilized the Tom van. We also had a digital presence that also allowed folks to see those same meetings and provide feedback if they could not attend. Our process utilized engaging that community, collecting that information, prioritizing the input, and then being transparent in terms of understanding and hearing the feedback. We utilized several different processes to engage the community. We had a template exercise. That was part of the workshop meetings, as well as with Desert Edge High School. We met with their leadership group, which was about 50 students. We also had Dotocracy, which allowed folks to put dots on images of inspiration or ideas for some of the amenities for both the recreation center and the parks facility, as well as the art. We had focus groups, as well as individual interviews that Nathan spoke about. We had a theming exercise. Again, opportunities to engage and ask questions and hear what was important to folks in the community. So this is kind of an eye test for you. So I'm going to move to the Elmo. This was our program input summary. What this does is it collects and shows you all the inputs and how we kind of bring those together. So if I may, I'm going to kind of point to the Elmo here. So on the top, you can see the various inputs in terms of the template exercises we held. Those are the workshop meetings, the meetings with the Youth Commission, Desert Edge High School, the core team, the Parks and Rec Commission as well. And down on the side here, you see the park amenities. So those are the elements that are in the park. We've enlarged a couple of those elements to kind of show you this. What this is really a tool we utilize to build consensus. So along the numbers here, those are amenities that were placed in the template exercises. The blue column right here gives folks that is a total, and it ranks those amenities in terms of numbers that support it. One is being the highest. And then these two boxes here, so the purple and this lighter brown. The purple was the previous inputs that Nathan spoke about with the 2014 System-Wide Parks and Rec Master Plan. And then the brown box was the stakeholder focus group and individual interviews. And what those two columns, as you see a check mark along some of these different amenities, it confirms if that topic was talked about in terms of that programming or that amenity. So it's another tool to help us vet and synchronize the current outreach with some of the previous inputs that were collected. Sure, can we go back to the PowerPoint? So from that input summary, we start to utilize those template exercises and start to look at how do we build consensus. When we talk about consensus, we're talking about the priorities in terms of the programming, as well as starting to look at some of these, how these elements can relate together. So we created a couple overlays. We traced over where folks had certain elements, and then we created 6 bubble diagrams that started to look at some of those elements and how they related together. From those 6 programming diagrams, we came up with 3 concepts that were showed at Workshop 2. Those are A, B, and C, as you see on the screen here. So the current plan with the 40 acres on the east side has all the same elements that are within the 3 concepts. We also have the west edge, which is a conceptual that wanted to looking at different relationships in terms of how these amenities were placed. We also had charrette sessions where we started to look at relationships on how elements could interact. And one of the key elements was how do we make sure we have that connection between the rec center, the aquatics, and the park. From this concept development and workshop 2 and feedback we heard, concept B started to kind of rise up, but we also had some other elements that were comments that were helped us get to this final concept. As mentioned, the concentration is on the 40 acres on the east side. The west side, which is the remaining 46 acres, that was very conceptual. We wanted to have ideas of how the interface could be with the current 40 acres. And then another element that we're looking at is the half-street improvements. So there'll be half-street improvements along Harrison, along with a signal. Oh, sorry. We're going to go to the Elmo. So half-streets along Harrison, and then Estrella, and then a signal. One of the other elements that we're going to continue to look at is the connection from Wildflower over to the park site. Want to make sure we have a pedestrian corridor that gets us over to the park. Just want to quickly walk through some of those elements. We have the fields, which could be utilized as an event space as well. Again, one of the key aspects was trying to get multi-use out of the entire park as a whole. We have the recreation center building in orange. The blue is the aquatics facility. The multi-use plaza right here. The baseball fields, sport courts down here, the playground, and then a group ramada. And one of the elements we heard about was distributed parking throughout, and then not having the ability to have an open park instead of having roads that do go through the park. So that was very key in terms of how we situated the parking. Sure. So when we looked at the multi-use plaza, one of the key elements was creating a space that could be very versatile to hold different events. We could have food trucks. We could have an art festival. We could have farmers market. So we have an upper plaza that's near the building. We have a middle plaza, which is really that opportunity. We could have a drivable space that would serve as a fire lane as well. But that's where we could really have those food trucks come on in and have them accessible to the site. And then we have this lower plaza, which really ties in with this orange half circle here, which is representing an amphitheater. And conventional amphitheaters don't get much use during the year, maybe 2-3 times for a large event. With this stage, the idea is to have the ability for larger performances that could hold folks on the event lawn, and then have intimate spaces, maybe music or performances for a smaller group in that multi-use plaza area as well. So we'll definitely have different opportunities as we go through the site to play with the vertical, and we do look at opportunities to sink the fields to create more of an open upper area space, so you kind of have a crescendo. One of the elements as you come in from Goodyear and Estrella, as you come into this way, is the reveal. So we've looked at an art space that would be centrally located within the plaza area to kind of have all angles. When we did a charrette exercise, one of the key elements was trying to line of sight from the building back to the park and then throughout, so folks could have that exposure and have a new sense of discovery when they do come to this park each time.
I'm going to ask you to hold right now. This is a lot of information. Where he is at this part. Do you have any questions on that or on these, anything they showed? All right, good job then. All right, go ahead.
Where was the place where you could possibly have music festival, that type of thing? Show me that again on here.
So a larger event could be here. This would be the stage.
That would be the stage, okay.
Yep, and then this would be a larger venue for that.
Yeah, I thought what we had at the ballpark recently seemed to be pretty successful. We had, about 5,000 people there. So with the whole idea, I like the gathering place approach. And with that approach, this would be perfect to draw people in for a variety of events that you have throughout the whole park. So it's something that I think will get it utilized, and you can come up with all kinds of creative ways to get them there. So again, I appreciate that part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Pizzillo, if I may. We spent a lot of time, and we really heard council with creating the ultimate gathering place, and so a lot of time went into creating that plaza area and what types of events it can hold, both large and small, and the idea of having that amphitheater that can serve people sitting in the grass or serve people that are participating in a Friday art walk. on the other side of the plaza, we think really gives some tremendous flexibility to do that.
So quickly, just to recap, I'm sorry, on some of those amenities. So again, the 2 softball, baseball fields, 2 rectangular multi-purpose fields, the playground. We have 2 tennis courts, 2 sand volleyball courts, 6 pickleball courts, and 2 basketball courts. Sure, back to the presentation. So look at the recreation center. So again, this was located at the northeast corner of Harrison and Estrella. This is a 30,000 square foot floor plan that we're looking at here. It includes a gym, multi-purpose gymnasium, multi-use classroom, multi-use rooms, 3 of those. It has the locker rooms. As you come into the orange space, you can either go left, you start going to the aquatics facility. If you go right, you go into the recreation side, so the gym or the class multi-use rooms. The multi-use spaces would be versatile to allow for anything from bunko to maybe a Zumba class, a yoga, and then that larger multi-use space could be opened up to the activity lawn there, so it could have maybe a banquet, it'd have a covered patio space. And then the gymnasium would have roll-up doors, another activity space off to the north there to kind of spill out, have events there. As you move into the aquatics facility, you look at a competition pool, 8-lane, and then an activity pool, and then a lazy river and a slide.
Joanne?
So understanding how this will work, because obviously with classes and stuff, people will sign up to be, you know, part of that program or go to that class and pay whatever fee is going to be. But what if I'm a 15-year-old that just walked over from Wildflower with my buddies in our basketball, and they want to go over there and they want to play in the court, in the gym? Are they going to need to have some kind of city rec pass, or how is that going to all work?
Yeah, so we're working through that right now. That's the next phase of programming, but our initial thought is that there will be opportunities for open gym that would accommodate those daily users that could come in and drop in and use the facility for, for nominal fee. If you're coming for a program, specifically like for volleyball on a Saturday morning, you're not going to have to pay that nominal fee. You've already paid your registration fee for the program. And likewise for a class.
Sherry?
First of all, thank you. I love it, especially the aquatics area. I think that's great. Got the lazy river in there, and the slide, which I was surprised. So that's great. I saw there's an addition for later on. And one thing, my question is, it may not be because you don't want to block it, but the use of shade or canopies. Obviously, when you're watching the kids at swim team, it's 150 out here. So I assume that's just not so it doesn't block everything.
Mayor, council, yes, correct. So you'll see this is really splitting a section. You're kind of looking, you're not seeing the roof lines, but there would definitely be shaded areas and ramadas throughout.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brandon.
So yes, thank you so much for. I know there's a lot of hard work. So I had a question about the competitive pool. Is that you foresee it being used for like high schools and things like that for competitive swimming, or just for adults swimming?
Both. It would serve leisure swim as well as it could accommodate competition pool, recreation leagues. Okay. It's a 25-meter pool, so that would accommodate up to high school competitions. Deliberately not going the path of an Olympic-sized pool. The YMCA currently fits that niche and is serving the community well with that regard.
Okay, and then for small kids, was there a small pool? I don't see a splash pad, so I was just curious, is there something for 5-year-olds and below, I guess, for water?
So in a few slides, we'll kind of highlight some of the play features of the aquatics area.
Okay, I just couldn't tell, so. Oh yeah, I think it's good. I like it. I like the multi-purpose of it and the ramadas, and then you can open up things as well, so you can change things to accommodate different things. The flexibility of it is good, so thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I had envisioned it a little differently for the building itself. Nathan, because all of us have heard the teenagers say we have no place to go. We don't have a teen rec center or a teen drop-in center, and we may need to have that conversation. We can offer them maybe the drop-in for the gym, and we could offer them the pool, but that doesn't fit all of the kids' needs and what they want to do. I know we may possibly be talking about this in two phases. However, I think it's really important that we as a council know what it would cost to build it out completely, because once this opens, it's going to be immediately too small because everybody's going to want to come. We need an indoor walking track because it's too hot to walk outside, and too many of our neighborhoods do not have sidewalks. And it's really, to me, that's the physical health of our residents, and that is so important. I also would like to see, I know we share with Avondale the senior center, but if we only have 3 classrooms, then it's going to be somewhat difficult for our staff to be able to manage the use of those rooms because they're going to be in so demand. But everyone has been waiting for a rec center, and this may be a wrong statement, but I believe we're one of the few cities that does not have a recreation center at all. And I know that once it is open, it's just going to be a hit, especially the pool, the Ramada, the amphitheater. I envision schools having the jazz band come and play out there, and I envision HOA meetings coming out there, and just a wonderful gathering place, because this recreation center is going to raise our property values. It's going to make Goodyear a great place to live because it's going to be a destination place. And I do thank you for all of the open houses and all of the meetings and all of the input that you have so carefully and thoughtfully considered. I've had such wonderful, positive conversation with people who have been involved in the process, and they really felt that you listened to them, the mothers with toddlers and the teenagers as well. So thank you so much. I'm really excited about it. I just hope that we're able to plan it out completely. It would be nice to be able to totally build it out once we start, because it's just going to be so exciting. So thank you.
Great.
Joe?
Mayor,
Excuse me, go ahead, answer.
Mayor, if I may reply to the Vice Mayor, if that's okay. We hear you loud and clear. You're right on in terms of the size of the facility and the classes. We are going to provide opportunities for expansion in the coming slides here as well. The walking track that you indicate is so important. That was a high priority from the public, so we want to attempt to fit that into the facility as well. But we will be bringing those decisions back, or bringing that information to you in the future to help us make some decisions with that. But the additional areas, the walking track, the kids, and the phasing, we'll hit here in the next couple of slides. But all great points.
Joe?
I see 3 classrooms there. I assume they're 3 separate. You couldn't have one big event with opening and all that up, could you?
So we couldn't with the lower class, no. To give you an idea for sizing, each class is 1,000 square feet, so that's a little bit smaller than 117. So it's not a real large space, but it's not a real small space either. So that will, we think, facilitate a good majority of classes. But those 2 would be able to be connected. But also purposely, you want to allow some division of the space, because if there's a Zumba class going in and Sean's doing that one, and I'm trying to do a yoga class next door, I'm hearing all the thumping and pounding that's going on, and the drop-down curtain just doesn't quite get it done. So that's where we look to, instead of we're adding the larger room down below to create 2,000 square feet of space to accommodate larger groups.
Where I was coming from is in case the city want to host a large event, how many people could you fit into the one that's, you say you have one that's, what, 2,000 square feet?
It's 2,000 square feet. It would be approximately double the size of room 117 at City Hall. I don't know if we have a number on how many that would accommodate, but
It's this right here.
Well, let's see.
Oh, I'm
Everybody's
seeing
like, I
so
don't
many heads turn.
All right, I'll say 1,500.
He's counting the square.
I don't know.
No, the only,
Close
There
to
you go, count the
2,000.
squares.
I'm thinking. Yeah, 3,200, yeah.
3,200?
Okay.
the only reason why I was asking is to see if there was a way
You just wanted to turn all these heads in the audience. Don't tell me
that's
any
true.
different than that.
But
Okay.
to
Put
see
us
if
on the
there was a
spot.
way maybe that we could have an outlet also for putting on some big events
Sure.
instead of going other places, that's all.
Wally?
And I forgot to mention, Nathan, I would also, I just think a recreation center is a wonderful place to have a wedding if we had the facility that we could rent out.
Well, they could do it outside.
Well, yeah, but we need a kitchen, that sort of thing. And if we wanted to have a dance, where can we dance? Where can we have a senior dance or a prom dance or
we
the gym floor?
we could use the gym floor. It's going to be multi-purpose, and it could accommodate different activities, so.
That'd be great. Have a rock
Cater
and roll
the-
band.
We can cater the food.
Oh, yeah, I'll bring the catering in, yeah.
Good question.
Yes, go Brandon, go ahead.
So I was looking at the full thing here. Is there a path around the entire facilities new park?
Can we switch to Elmo? Thank you.
I see the access road and into the parking lot.
So all the purple, that's a multi-use pathway
Oh,
that
it
goes
is, okay.
throughout. And it's one of the comments we did here was certainly wanted to have that. That could get you around and look at all the elements in the park and
Yeah.
then have a curvilinear element to it.
What's the distance around the entire?
That's a great question. I can come back and get you that, but I would.
The only reason I asked is I was sort of curious if one day if we wanted to run like a race or something, or a
it's a
5K fun race. or
Probably
something like
about
that.
4,000 to 5,000 linear feet of path throughout the whole park, kind of all around if you look at it.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can we go back to the presentation? Sorry. So in terms of expansion opportunities, like we were just talking about in terms of the rec center building, this slide shows you 4 options that would go from 30,000 square feet to 52,000 square feet. So to kind of give you a sense, that's about the same size as the community center at Rio Vista Community Park in Peoria. We've, as Nathan mentioned, Area A, which is the elevated walking track, was a very high priority with the community. The option A, identifying that as an area to expand, it fits in terms of the volume space of the gym will be built to its ultimate condition. So adding this would be certainly an element that we'd want to try and go for in terms of moving the building forward. That space will already be built. It's a matter of the structural elements for the elevated walking track. And then you see there areas B and C provide additional multi-use room space in the future. The red and the kind of the blue lines could show, depending on different expansions, where you could potentially lengthen your track throughout. And then area D, which is down in the lower part of this slide in the green, that turf area, that could be external expansion of this building as well. That could potentially build more multi-use space in terms of a gym or even teen areas. Yeah.
Questions on this, council? Wally?
So where would we put a child care center? Because that's really important,
Thank you.
so that folks could come and do their exercise or their classes and their children have a safe place to be.
So we have evaluated that. We visited nearly almost every facility in the city or in the area, and nearly every facility we visited that had a child center, they were repurposing that space and it wasn't being utilized. I think the popularity for that really depends on your program.
Okay.
And so if we were doing like a Lifetime Fitness or something in that regards, then there would be a need for people to come and do that, for the child care services. I think it'll be something that as we look to expand, we keep that in consideration, because those expanding areas may dictate the need for that type of amenity.
Good, thank you.
But actually, in that age, you don't, unaccompanied, you would not, you want the children to be accompanied by an adult.
Yeah.
And so, and there's a lot of more to the cost of something like that, and the insurance and all of
They'd
that.
have to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah, so, I mean, not a bad idea, but I think for this, when you see how many places the schools have during
we
the
just
summer,
have
the
some.
church have it, yeah, so we do, but there is some responsibility there, so, go ahead.
Going back to some of the aquatic facilities areas in here, the kind of that activity area would include a zero depth pool where folks could, kind of just walk into that edge, and that's really more of that kind of that splash element. Instead of an independent splash pad, it would be integrated into that activity area, the lazy river, a slide, and then even that competition lap pool.
I do too. I think that would be fun.
So we've got a couple of visuals here. Again, these are just visions. This isn't particularly what the building would look like. This is just to kind of get you an idea to understand the space. Certainly when we go through schematic design, there will be all kinds of interaction with the team in terms of materials and the look of the actual building. So the top one gives you a look at this plaza area during the day, walking towards the recreation center, and the ones at night. This gives you an idea looking from the aquatic space back to the building. These two, the first one gives you another shot kind of showing more of the aquatics facility with potentially some Ramada spaces as you move towards the recreation building. And then the bottom one, that slide, shows you that larger multi-use room and that plaza that could be developed outside of that for a larger banquet with the event space on the lawn there. So now we'd really want to show you an exciting video. It shows you kind of how to experience the site, a little fly through, give you a little flavor of the site.
And then we'll move into next steps.
Thank you.
There was sound, but I think it still demonstrates the process. So.
Maybe that's a good thing. Look at that. No, I don't think so. We could try. Oh gosh, that's gorgeous.
Really good one.
Wow.
This is a great way to.
Oh, man. Isn't that beautiful?
Gives you all that space.
Wow. How exciting.
You can really see the plaza space from these shots.
It's gorgeous. Look at that. That is a jewel in the desert. It is beautiful. Wow.
Soccer industry is going to be very happy with that, you know that. They've been asking for that for a long time.
Look at the people running. Then the bottom. It's cute. There's the track.
think that was Councilmember Hampton doing his ninja training down there. So there's the master plan as it exists today. And we're going to turn things over to Walt, who will talk about next steps, and then we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Nathan. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Yeah, my name is Walt Kinsler. I'm the Capital Improvement Program Manager. And for the last 9 months, I've been the project manager for the Recreation Campus Master Plan. So I'm extremely excited. I get to talk about the next steps. Although a small role tonight, it's really to talk about how we take that animated aerial fly-through right through the design phase, construction phase, so that we have a grand opening for a beautiful park in fall of 2020. The slide.
Can we go to the Elmo, please?
Oh, wait. Can we go back?
Oh, can we go to the presentation?
Yes, there we are, our next steps.
Sorry.
So the first step we'll be doing will be the council adoption of the Recreation Campus Master Plan. More specifically, it will be the eastern 40 acres of that developed plan. The next step right below that dot point will be the rezoning of the site plan and the approval process. There's two processes that we'll be working with Development Services and our planning department. We will rezone the property from currently a PAD, a planned area development, to a public facilities district. Then that should take about 90 days. And then the third dot point is really where the rubber hits the road. That's where we're going to do a complete preliminary project cost analysis and then come back to council and present implementation options. Yes.
Can we go to Elmo, please?
So we believe that this is the most critical step that we're going to talk about tonight. Mayor and council, as you know, we have put a pause on the CIP program. We've been getting costs and scopes that are not in line with one another. So we're going to take approximately 4 months, and we're going to develop a project cost to validate our CIP budget, which is on the Elmo above. And we're going to validate that with the scope that we've talked about for the initial phase of development or the current phase of development as we've been addressing it. As a quick review, the 6 CIP-funded projects associated with the Recreation Campus identified there above. We've gone through those features, but there's approximately $31.8 million for the initial park development, and we have another $4.5 million for the infrastructure improvements. That's the Half Street improvements on Harrison, as well as Australia, and the RID, Roosevelt Irrigation District, relocation of their facilities. As many of you are already aware, we are experiencing a highly volatile, unstable construction environment. We've talked with contractors that are telling us that the cost of materials and the labor shortage is not going away, and it's going to continue to get worse. So what we've done is we've hired a construction manager at risk, a CMAR. And a CMAR, with their team of several different subcontractors, commercial pool builders, building subcontractors, civil contractors, as well as large park site development contractors, are going to put together 6 cost models that reflect the projects that are identified on the Elmo. And from that, we'll start to develop implementation options for the first phase. And so there's been a lot of discussion about things that we'd like to see in this park, and we certainly want it to be an icon for the city. It needs to meet the the demands, the desires, the expectations of our community, city council, and the Parks Department. So from the cost analysis, we'll develop those implementation options and bring them back to council to share with you and for you to provide feedback on how we want to move forward. If I get to the PowerPoint presentation again. So that's really the preliminary project cost analysis is really the meat of these next steps, because that's going to help dictate this next step, which is approval of the expenditure for design development. We'll have a scope of services to develop these construction drawings for park implementation. That contract will come back in the fall for city council approval. And then for the next 12 months, starting fall of 18 through fall of 19, we'll be doing a design development, developing those construction drawings. It'll be a long process. There's a lot of different features, as you can see, the 6 different features. And then construction will be fall of 2019 to fall 2020. We do anticipate that there'll be some earlier guaranteed maximum price packages, the GMPs, because we have the RID canal that we're going to want to relocate during dry up. And we also have opportunities working with the CMAR to look at early purchasing of items, maybe before they escalate out of our price range, as well as construction sequencing that will provide an efficiencies for development. So we're excited. Fall 2020, we're going to take Sean's flyover and make it a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Well said, Walt. And with that, we'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Vice Mayor?
Is the 12 million estimated for the rec center just the phase 1?
Yes, that is the current budget for a 30,000 square foot recreation center.
So when you come back after you hire these folks, are you going to be able to tell us what the whole cost out is? So
That's exactly correct, and that's our plan, is to really, we talk about a pause in the CIP process and getting it right and making sure the numbers are right before we launch the project. So this will allow us over the next 4 months to really work those numbers, get a grasp on what those dollars look like in terms of today, and what the needs are, or if there's any gap that needs to be filled, and come back to you with that information, as well as opportunities for expansion and what those costs look like for that as well. We want you to be able to make a full comprehensive decision with all the information that's available at the time.
So is there another cost incurred by us hiring this other firm to cost out all of this?
Correct. It was part of the original scope for analysis that we had for master planning and design. So we just kind of upped some of that to begin that process now.
But we're not allocating any additional funds for that purpose. It's already part of the
Correct. And I think
conversation.
this process, we executed a purchase rec, and it was
Okay.
it was under
Thank you.
$5,000.
Perfect. Thank you.
Joe?
First of all, I want to thank you for all the effort and work you put into it. And second, I appreciate the approach, because I really think this is your most, like you say, the most important part of your phase. So you come back to us and we have actually reasonable numbers of what you're going to scope out and what we expect the end result to be. So I have no problem with you taking your due diligence and time to get those numbers right. I'm not big on surprises when it comes to numbers, to tell you the truth. So the fact that you're taking that time to do that, I think it's great. And I'm looking forward to bringing back the information.
Thank you, Joe. Sherry?
And again, thank you all very much, and everyone in the community that got involved in this, because this is just better than I had hoped. And I went to one of the vignettes and everything, so I was very impressed with it. I would like to know, when we say opening in fall of 2020, it's such a highly aquatic center. Are we talking early fall? I would hate for the residents late fall, and see this beautiful aquatic center, and then it's November and they can't get into it until May or June. So I don't know what the phasing is going to be to open, but if we could keep that in mind, if we could early fall, but it's warm.
That's a great comment. We're looking at all options right now of what that might look like in the fall, so.
Yes, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat some other things here, but yeah, I appreciate it. All the hard work. I know it's been a long journey, 9 months of community input and working with different stakeholders. So I appreciate all the hard work that everybody put into it. And I'm very excited about this park. I think it'll be a great amenity for the city, and the residents definitely want more parks. And I also appreciate you looking at the numbers and making sure the scope right, and to make sure that we're gonna hit that. And yes, like I said, to Joe's point, there's no surprises, and we can deliver the park that all the residents want at one time, as opposed to we find out we don't have the money to stop, and there's partial. We want to give them the full shebang. So I appreciate it. So like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and I know the residents are as well. So thank you very much.
Joanne?
Well, I've been writing down all my different thoughts to wait till the end. And first of all, I have to tell you, seeing that little video, I guess, I got tears in my eyes because when my husband and I first brought our family to Goodyear, it was 1998, and we moved into Wildflower. I kind of know that corner. And in 20 years, we've waited a long time for the development of this park. And you know what? All the voices that have come to the table, all the different groups, all the different citizens that have really had a part of this really makes me believe that the concept will be successful. And I view it as our future, point of pride for our city. This will be one of those lights. I thought the layout of the parking was fabulous. I think that the different areas were really thought out well. The multiple voices, lots of flexibility that's within there. One of the items that I have, so many different, I hate to say this, Georgia, so many different things that we've either talked about with the city center or talked about with the parks. I love all the planning, but something that I had always envisioned was in these areas, these plaza areas that we have, these areas that people can relax or that there can be different venues. It was an area that is ever changing, an area that could be, art, it could be, demonstrations, it could be areas where you had displays or even, gardening. I don't want to say gardens, but something that was ever changing for the use of our public. When Brandon asked about kind of the mileage around the area, you know what? Quite frankly, I think that's vital to be able to say, because so many people, especially if I have my Fitbit on, they want to know, okay, if I go this route around the park, is that a mile? If I go that route, will that be, we could even call it silly trail names. This is the, whatever we could call it. But, having little areas that's telling people on these walking paths, just even going around the entire rec center, is that a mile? Just people like to know that. It gives them an idea. I can get in a quick walk around here. So I think that's important. Map the distance. I think the architecture that was shown was pretty cool and contemporary. I know there's a lot of concrete look to that, and so I know this is just kind of as a thought, but I think the yellow canopies and the yellow lighting promotes that energy, and you want it to have that. So I thought that was pretty neat. And even the entryway was cool. But remember that within our city, we've had a lot of different, when they're large buildings, we've always asked in the architecture, can there be different uses of textures, whether it was in metal or whether it was in rock or things like that. And, you just go back to the ballpark. This is still kind of within that area. So I just throw that out there. But, great job, guys. And I'm so thrilled to all of our citizens and groups that came out to be part of this dream. Thanks.
Well, this is a dream come true. I'm excited. It just talks about our quality of life in Goodyear. And you did the right thing. You went to the citizens first. All right, so it's not the council making these decisions. Of course, we have our desires and for our families and what we want, but moreover, I think it's the city And so I want to thank you, and I also want to thank the staff behind the scenes, because I know that happens. It's not just the three of you sitting up here tonight. There's many that are involved in this. So I'm very excited, and I will tell you that since I've been connected with the city before I got on council and I was on the city center committee, the neighborhood of Wildflower talked about a park. I remember talking to the Burnett's. You remember them? And very active in the community. And I remember her coming every year and saying, my grandchildren are getting older. You said you were going to build me a park, and you were going to give me access from Wildflower. So this is very, very important. And the one thing, council, that's very expensive, but I would like us to be smart in how we might manage it, is get that road in. And I know that that's expensive and is going to take time, but I think that is an important road, double purpose of the school traffic, and also getting on with it. So that's kind of one of my wants, and I know it's very costly, so that will be difficult for us to do early on. It would be great. But I really like your creativity in this, because it's so open to be able to transcend to any kind of activity. So when we design things and we close it for certain things because this person does this and we have to have this and we have to have that, we really don't. We have to have space, because whatever in a block, you can do anything you want and bring things in, like the kitchen. You can have a portable kitchen. So you really don't need to go to those. You just need to have the space and the shade. And I think that's the one thing I can remember us doing in the city center, study after study on how to do walkways to give shade, moreover, and little spots throughout it that give people a place to sit, rest, and the walkway around is great. You know, we had a number of people come towards the last that said, hey, we have to have this walkway. And it's not just for the elderly, it's for everybody, for exercise, and that's something that everybody can do at any age. So I think really a great job, and we're excited about the next step in this and fully supportive of this. So thank you very much. So let's give them a round of applause for this. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and we have to be back in 10 minutes. Is that, I'm looking at the lawyer, is that, can we give him 15 minutes?
Absolutely, Mayor.
Absolutely, all right. So let's say 15 minutes from now, we'll start the other meeting. This meeting's adjourned.